Medieval Academy drafting game by Iello, a game in the tradition of Seven Wonders, but simpler and more streamlined, which is not necessarily a bad thing. In Medieval Academy, the players play the role of young aspiring knights that are learning all the basic skills that a knight must know. Some philosophy, some fighting skills, doing charity to people, so being nice to people, and possibly also acting in a gallant way with the milady of the situation. Each player has a pool of tokens of a specific color. As you can see, there are 7 boards, so they can be arranged in different ways because they're separated from one another, but this is the arrangement that I like for reasons that I will explain. Each board has a track of spaces that goes around it, and each board has a starting space, and that's where you put the marker for each of the players. So imagine that I'm doing it for all of them, which I'm actually doing. Next, once every player has played their starting markers there, you start dealing cards. There's a deck of cards showing the symbols on the board, so in any case corresponding to the board. So the illustration has to do with the theme of the board. There's charity, there's slaying the dragon, or getting ready, getting trained to do so. So the cards show symbols corresponding, matching the boards, and also a numerical value. You shuffle the cards and you give 5 to each player. Then it is drafting palooza. It's the way you know it. You look at your cards, you choose one. However, you do not have to play it immediately. You put it face down by your play area. You give the remaining cards to the next player going around the table, and there is a specific direction that the game goes that changes each turn. Each first turn goes this way, second turn counterclockwise, and so on and so forth. Here you have the turn marker. So you give your cards to the next player, the previous player gives you the remaining cards, you look at them, you choose one, hand them out, and so on and so forth, until all cards have been distributed, all cards have been assigned, which means at the end of this drafting phase you will have a hand of 5 cards. You look at them, and then, this is interesting, you start playing them one by one, resolving the effect of each card as you put it down, starting with the first player that has this super awesome sword. You put them face down and you simply arrange your token accordingly. For example, if I decide to play this card here, then my token moves by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on that board. Then maybe next player is playing this card here, blue player is playing that card there, which is charity. Then 1, 2, 3. And you go around like this, playing your cards. These cards here can move the token on either of those 2 boards. So I want to move here by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go around this until each player is left with a single card. The last card is not played. This is very important, so you have some flexibility there, depending on what you have in your hand. Players play all of their cards, and then the round is over, the turn is over, and you score the boards that do score, and then you move on to the next one, and you continue like this, turn after turn, drafting and then playing cards until the end of the 6th turn, when you'll do the final scoring and you assign victory based on number of victory points. You also have these really cool markers here, tokens that are used to keep track, keep score, depending on how many points you get in each category. So that, for example, if I do well on these boards here, you get this kind of thing. If I do well on this other board here, I get those tokens there. Really neat, nice touch there. And it's important to have a lot of those so that you can give change and you do not have to worry too much about the logistics of the game. What really makes this game interesting, because as I told you, the way the game explained to you certainly has the advantage of simplicity, but also it may sound a little too easy and straightforward for most gamers. What makes it interesting is the way scoring works. First, not all boards score every turn. For example, This board here only scores at the end of turn 3 and 6. The dragon only scores once in the game at the end of turn 6. Also, at the end of turn 3, most boards are reset, as you can see from this symbol here, and you simply reset the card, the tokens to the initial space, and you take it from there. So if you're behind in the first 3 rounds, you still get a chance. On some of the boards at least, because there are 2 boards that are scored only at the end of the game, and those do not get reset. You simply build up your position throughout the game towards the big payoff at the end. So, let's see how the boards score, because they work in different ways. This is the first one that is scored, and it is pretty special. It has a special effect ability. You look at the rank, that is, you see which player went the farthest along the track, and that is the first player. The first player has the advantage of moving one of these tokens on the table by 3 spaces. So actually, maybe here I was behind a little bit, but now I get to move by 3 spaces. So here, 1, 2, and 3. All right. Next player goes, and next player, the second player gets to move by 2, and third player by 1. If there are people behind that, too bad for them. Also, another important thing is that if you are in the 0 space of an area of a board, that is, you simply did not move, you always come in as last, and you do not get any benefit. You need to move a little bit to be able to get something. So, I really like this mechanic here that allows you to do last-minute adjustments and to try to overcome things and improve your position, or at least to backstab somebody. Interesting enough, there are no ties, because when somebody ends up in an area where there already is a token of an opponent, the newly come token goes on top, and that is the tiebreaker. The higher you are in a stack in a tower, the better you are. The token on top is the one that wins. In this case, for example, red would be first player, yellow second player, and blue third player. These 2 boards score exactly the same, simply 3, 2, and 1 points to the first players. The players that achieve best rank there, respectively, is really the same thing twice. And they score every turn. You see they have 6 numbers there in that little parchment. This board here also is scored each turn. It's based on knowledge and wisdom. It doesn't give you anything good, but simply gives a penalty of -3 to the last player and -1 to second to last. So there is a constant drain of your overall skills if you concentrate on beating up people in melee or during jousts, and you neglect your studies. As a professor, I agree with that idea. There should be a penalty for not taking care of your intellectual abilities. The King's track is scored only twice in the game, round 3 and round 6, and is scored differently. It is the one board in the game that is not by ranking, meaning you don't get stuff based on your position relative to the others. You simply get a point for each space that you moved on this track, up to a maximum of 12. So if I'm here, I get 6 points. Doesn't matter where everybody else is. If I'm here, 8 points, 12 points. As simple as that. It simply is a trade-off of 1 point per. There's simply an exchange of 1 point per space on the track. Finally, these last 2 tracks, they only score once per game, but boy oh boy, do they score quite a bit. Do they matter? They certainly do. If you're the last player on this board here, you lose 10 points, second to last 5 points. There is no reward from being charitable. It is its own reward, but there's a penalty for not sharing your wealth with the poor. Finally, the dragon, if you are the player who is ahead of everybody here, you get 17 points, which is huge, and other values for players that are behind you, and that I guess they are assumed to have helped somehow with the mission. What I just described is the general game. The game also comes out of variants that includes some other components that I didn't show to you. It would be a fairly long list of variants, so there are different ways that you can play the game to keep it fresh if you find that the standard game gets a little stale. I don't think I'll have that problem. I really like the standard game. I think there are a lot of different strategies, there are a lot of nuances. It's a game that per se I think has a really, really good replay value. You know, however, that there's something going on when one of the variants is the two-player game, when there are specific rules, which can be a little bit of a problem for some players, or let me phrase that differently. This is a game that clearly works well for gamers and casual gamers, because I can imagine pretty much everybody who likes Seven Wonders enjoying this one too. More streamlined, but still with a lot of the bang that you get in Seven Wonders. However, I can also see many people that would not enjoy Seven Wonders that would enjoy this one. Casual gamers, spouses of serious gamers that are occasional gamers, gamers when the opportunity arises. And I can say, again, casual gamers, not regular gamers, really enjoying this one. Easy to get, the rules are pretty simple, the concepts are absolutely simple, the strategies are intuitive, so I don't see any problem there. That means that this would make for a great play with your spouse game, because I guess statistically it just so happens that most gamers are married or in significant relationships with non-gamers or casual gamers. It also can work, of course, in different contexts. With the drafting system, you have the advantage everybody is drafting at the same time, so you do not have an amount of downtime that increases too much with the number of players. However, here you also have a phase where players are playing cards from their hand, but that you have a limited number of choices, the cards that you put in your hand, you know what they are, you already have a plan, so you get a general idea of how you want to spend them. However, there is an interesting aspect here. It's not like, well, then it becomes boom, 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 automatic, because you still want to keep an eye on what the players are doing. In most cases, you want to delay committing to a certain board, you want to hedge your bets a little bit, because maybe you have a card that advances you by a certain number of spaces, and the opponent is a card that would put the opponent on top of your piece. If those two cards are played in different order, the opponent goes first, plays that card first, then you're on top and you get to win that contest. So actually, you want to see what the other players are doing. The card management has enough to make that phase interesting, to still give you decisions about the possible best order to play your cards. Again, at the same time, without burdening you with decisions that are too complex and that would scare away a casual gamer, or decisions that take so long to optimize that they may make the game drag a little bit. This is not the case. The game still moves fast, and yet you're still making decisions that are interesting and entertaining. Medieval Academy, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it will replace Seven Wonders entirely. There are situations where Seven Wonders remains desirable, remains preferable with committed players that already know the game. But I don't think that I'm gonna teach Seven Wonders ever again, because that can be a little complicated. If you had that task ever, you know what I'm talking about. With players that already know it, then I can play Seven Wonders, committed to that, and all the trees and possibilities, etc. But if I'm introducing a new player to the idea of drafting, then Medieval Academy is gonna be my to-go game. And maybe after the player gets the general idea, maybe the player can learn Seven Wonders by themselves, not from me. Medieval Academy, simpler, lighter, more intuitive than Seven Wonders. more complex with more meat than other light drafting games such as Sushi Go, for example. The nice missing link right there, and definitely a game that is enjoyable. Medieval Academy, frankly, a really good game. I enjoy playing it, and I recommend it to anyone who has tried a drafting game before. This is a different one. Uses ideas that are very familiar, but I think the overall final result has a very interesting personality, which is its own. And if it is your first drafting game, again, this could also be a good introduction to this style of games.